no Srila Gurudev, no Bhakti Vigyan Kesava Maharaj, no devotees, period, in the modern era. So we owe our breath, and every atom we breathe, every molecule we take in, has Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's name eternally stamped on every one of them as our eternal Redeemer and peerless benefactor. So with that, I will close. And thank you so much for having this wonderful celebration. I was very happy to see Bhakti Swarup Shiramaj on the opening that was beautiful, and members from all different sanghas, because we all come from Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and we're all in the Saraswat Gaudiya Parivar family. Jai.
Wow, that's amazing, wonderful, and always so moving to hear you, Sriman Gaurasundar Prabhu. So many of the things you said actually reminded me yesterday in a class with Sriman Mukunda Prabhu and Bhumipati Prabhu. We were reading this article from Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj about Vyas Puja, and it was talking about Vyas. What is Vyas actually? It's in the article. I mean, I understand in the Sanskrit it's like a diameter, but also this talked about how Vyas was, if you take a single point and enlarge it, it becomes a circle. That's like the spreading everywhere of the Harikatha. But when you were talking about the like avadut nature of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, it also reminded me of Nityananda Prabhu, the Adi Guru, and him being an avadut as well. And just that line, that Vyas goes all the way there. And of course, to our Srila Prabhupada, to our Srila Gurudev, and anyone else who's actually fulfilling the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that's quite great to have that reminder.
Yes, their compassion and their avadut natures are proportionate to one another. They will bend any rule in order to save the jiva.
Yeah. It's like Nanda Prabhu giving Krishna Prem to someone who's, doing violence against him. It's just astonishing. These acharyas are astonishing and inspiring. And so it's fantastic. And when I hear like on a conference like this, where we get to hear so many of the glories, I heard Sriman Mukunda Prabhu speak earlier how, who can actually glorify these acharyas, who could glorify, like, it's like, how do you make water more wet, right? So it's very much this, but yet we try. And thank you so much for
but so many wonderful details came out in this discussion. It was Ashram Maharaj that speaks about the twinkle in Srimati Radhikaji's eye towards Krishna, that prem, that is Bhakti Siddhanta. Well, that's priceless. So without these Bhakti Seva calls, we don't get these gems that are hidden in the hearts of the devotees. And they do astonishing things to one's meditation, one's appreciation for these personalities, because each devotee is a window into each of these acharyas and personalities. And they're allowing themselves to be revealed through all these beautiful flower petals that are being offered. So I learned so much from these Zoom calls. I see so many beautiful devotees contributing so beautifully. And we're just trying to string some flower petals together at Pushpanjali to our sources, the ones who are continually nourishing us. And so again, thank you to the Bhakti Seva team. I know there was a period where Yasodanandan Prabhu was not with us, and we all felt the great separation. There was definitely a kind of a fraying, but now that we're come together, even more than much, these Bhakti Seva Zoom calls are quite powerful in uniting the Vaishnavas in a way that even temples somehow don't really do as well. It has its function, it does great way, but this kind of discussion where we're talking with everyone all over the world virtually, and everyone has an opportunity to share their heart is very unique. And it's great gift to Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And thank you, Yasodanandan Prabhu and the full Bhakti Seva Zoom team.
I got exhausted actually from it.
Oh, really? Yeah, I can imagine.
With Seva, sometimes you got to do it in a sustainable way, and it sort of had its own dynamic, and it felt like it was a runaway train, and just needed to stop, and then we could restart in a more sane way.
Yes, I totally understand.
Yeah. And
yes.
Yeah. It's and Yoshinari's done brilliantly, and Manini Radha. Basically, it's been Yoshinari, myself, and Manini Radha doing the core stuff, and then there's just so many wonderful Kirtaniers contributing, and wonderful MCs contributing, and people contributing on the administrative side. Lots of stuff in the background. And it's quite hilarious because sometimes things go seriously wrong, like people don't turn up, or they get the wrong time zone, or we get the wrong time zone, and there's a bit of improvisation. But that's when it kind of gets fun. When in England we have a comedy series called Fawlty Towers, so when it gets Fawlty Towers, it gets really funny.
Yes, Bhakti Zoom is like a sport. It's a sport in Bhakti. I'm certainly hosting, but it is wonderful for it to come back in Yasodanandan, and we are all grateful that we were able to kind of restart it at this level, because I do think this is also the Brihad Mridanga of our modern age. This is Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada's legacy. Is this Bhakti Zoom is just another way that Mahaprabhu's Kirtan is spreading everywhere. So there's
another female devotee who I think is going to become part of the core team, but I'm not going to mention her name yet because I don't want her to feel pressure.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and so many people
keep that secret.
More to come. But I know that our next speaker is here, and I'm going to ask Sripad.
I thought we cancelled him, didn't we?
No. I know this next speaker, Sripad Bhaktivedanta Vaikhanas Maharaj, is so prompt and respectful of time, and I don't want another chastisement from him for bringing him on later.
I love his chastisements. They're the best, man. They're the best.
Yeah, well, it's true. Getting chastised from Vaishnavas is the most loving thing. So I guess I should receive them. Maybe he has a cane or a whip that can give me Krishna Prem. See. But Sripad Vaikhanas Maharaj is another stalwart on our platform. He has received Diksha from Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and has been traveling. I think he still might be traveling in his RV and spreading Hari Katha, and has done so much seva. Without further ado, Vaikhanas Maharaj, I want to welcome you. I know you're excellent at keeping time, so I won't interrupt you unless you want me to cue you when you have a few minutes left. And your time starts now. Hari Bol. Oh, I don't hear you, Maharaj, so I'm not sure if you...
He's winding you up. He's winding you up. He thinks he's got a sense of humor.
Winding you up.
It's an American who thinks he's got a sense of humor.
What time? How much time do I have for this?
3 minutes.
You have 30 minutes. 30 minutes.
30 minutes. Okay, so I'll set this for 28. There we go. Start. All right. Well. Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshulamalitañjena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikai Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Vancha Kapatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So before we begin, we always offer our most humble, respectful, grateful obeisance under the lotus feet of our beloved Gurus. Anja Sri Guru Pada Padmanita Lita Bhavishta Om Vishnu Pad Asto Tadasat Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada and Sri Guru Parapadma Nityaveda Bhavishta Om Vishnu Pad Asto Tadasat Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj under our exalted Rupanuga Guru Varga, especially today too, our Sri Nityalila Bhavishta Om Vishnu Pad Asto Tadasat Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. So, leading up to this, I really didn't know for sure what I was going to talk about. You know, you have to get some kind of inspiration, and there are so many devotees that are going to say so many things. You don't know if you want to, you don't want to repeat exactly what they were saying. But as fate would have it, we've been reading in our regular class, which goes out here and there, from the Chaitanya Bhagavat, getting ready for Mahaprabhu's appearance. And today we had just come up to this part in the Madhya Kanda, chapter 5, which is talking about the first Vyasa Puja that Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu were involved in. And this particular volume has the commentary by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. And so that we're reading, and the devotees before they began the actual Vyasa Puja itself, they had a big rip-roaring kirtan, ecstatic kirtan. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada is explaining about how Vyasa Puja is actually performed, what it is and how it's performed. And in fact, that's what we're doing today. And so then the last part of his commentary on that particular verse, he's saying this. He's saying that another name for Sri Vyasa Puja is Sri Guru Pada Padme Padyarpana, or bathing the lotus feet of the spiritual master with 5 ingredients. Or, and Srila Saraswati Prabhupada, he always gives us the inner meaning of these things, the process by which it is made known that the inner desire of the spiritual master is to properly serve the Lord. That is why our well-wishing master, guide, and predecessor spiritual master, Srila Thakur Narottam, has glorified our primary guru, Sri Rupa Goswami, as follows. And this verse everybody knows. Sri Chaitanya Monobhishtam Stapitam Jaina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadandikam. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who is established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? That's the translation. And Saraswati Prabhupada concludes by saying, the most merciful Sri Chaitanya Dev's pastimes of distributing love of Krishna that Sri Rupa prescribed to his followers as the remedy for curing the disease of aversion to the service of the Lord are the ideal offering for Vyasa Puja. So in that, I was thinking, oh, Saraswati Prabhupada has defined himself and his very life as being in the service of Sri Rupa Goswami, right? And if you look to his pranam mantras, and this is something Srila Gurudev always instructed us, when it comes to glorifying Sri Guru, what we have to do is look very deeply into their pranam mantra, because that reveals their manobhishta, their identity, their mission. And so 2 of the most important and beautiful prayers to Saraswati Prabhupada, and the reason I'm reading these is because we're making this link with Rupa Goswami. Madhuryo Jvala Premadya Sri Rupanuga Bhaktida Sri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute. O Srila Saraswati Thakur, you deliver Sri Rupanuga Bhakti, which is enriched with Ujjvala Madhurya Prem. You are the embodiment of the mercy potency of Sri Gauranga. I offer pranam unto you. It's a very important verse because especially we're hearing different things about some diversity of opinion about what is appropriate to preach, what is not appropriate to preach in this age. What did our Srila Prabhupada, our A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada come to give? What Gurudev is coming to give, is that appropriate? But right here, this, since we are talking about Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada as the modern, I would just say, innovator, instigator of the movement of Mahaprabhu, Rupanuga Bhaktida. He's being defined as a devout follower of Sri Rupa Goswami, delivering bhakti in his mood, which is what? Sri Goda Karuna Shakti, the mercy of Mahaprabhu in what? Madhuryo Dvala Premadya, the ultimate aim, the highest aspiration, the highest prospect for humanity to enter into Mahaprabhu's Leela and to enter into the Leela of Radha and Krishna in Madhurya Ras. Then Namaste Gauravani Sri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Vidudhapa Siddhanta Dvanta Harine. I offer obeisance to you, the embodiment of Sri Gauranga's message. You deliver the fallen and remove the darkness of philosophical misconceptions that are opposed to the precepts taught by Sri Rupa Goswami. So he showed us that the mission, the Gaudiya mission, that which Mahaprabhu came to give, is most clearly revealed through Rupa Goswami and through his teachings. Now, the reason I brought that up is because I wanted to draw a parallel. We've been getting very interesting historical perspectives in the relationship between Saraswati Prabhupada going back to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his link to our Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev. But I wanted to draw a parallel between Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada and Srila Jiva Goswami, and to show how the mission of Mahaprabhu in its very beginning, from Mahaprabhu preaching Sri Damodar, Ramananda Roy, then the six Goswamis, Rup, Sanatan, and then Jiva, how that came about in the modern way, in the form of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, our Srila Prabhupada, and ultimately Srila Gurudev. I don't know if I'm going to have time to do all of this, but this kind of came to me last year. I was in Florida down at Syamarani Didi's mat, and Ashram Maharaj was there, and we were there for this day, and I was supposed to speak, and just all these points sort of came to me at once, and they liked it, so I thought, well, maybe everyone else will like it too. So here we are. Now, when we think of Mahaprabhu, just as Gaurasundar indicated, that when Saraswati Prabhupada came, his associates, disciples, were extraordinary personalities. Many of them were eternal associates for this purpose. And when Mahaprabhu came to deliver character, they were with him in Vrindavan, they were with him in Ram Leela, they were with him in Leela with Lord Varaha, Lord Nrsingadev. Mahaprabhu attracted souls from all the different avatars, all the different incarnations, which is quite broad and quite unique. Previous incarnations, they attract their own eternal associates. Krishna in Vrindavan, those are his eternal associates. People from Ram Leela don't come there. Even Dwarka Leela don't come there, except maybe like Akura to try and take Krishna out. When Lord Ram comes, he has his associates. Each avatar incarnation comes with their own people, but Mahaprabhu, because his mission is the deliverance of everyone throughout the universe from every background. One speciality of his is that he attracts all devotees from who worship different incarnations. Roy Gupta, he worshipped Lord Ram, he's Hanuman. Others were worshippers of Lord Varaha. Others were worshippers of Krishna in Dwarka Leela. And this also extends to the way in which he distributes his mercy. You know, Gurudev has always said that Krishna, he delivered some people. Ramachandra, they delivered some, but not so many. But Mahaprabhu, he came to deliver everyone. And so for that purpose, he descended with very special personalities. And from that verse, Sri Chaitanya Monabhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale, we're glorifying Rupa Goswami because he articulated, he understood the innermost desire of Mahaprabhu, which manifests in two ways. One, the desire to deliver everyone, but also the desire to reveal the confidential nature of Braj Prem, to reveal the speciality of Braj Prem in the service of Srimati Radhika. No one had ever done this before. So Rupa Goswami had a very particular role. Mahaprabhu gave them the duty, he and Sanatan and Gopal Bhatta and some others, that you go to Vrindavan, you uncover and discover the lost pastime places of Krishna. You establish appropriate Vaishnava etiquette and behavior. And you write beautiful books, which will explain all this for the conditioned souls. And that's what he did. And then Jiva Goswami, who was his nephew, but like a son, he became his disciple and had a very specific role in assisting Rupa Goswami. He became his only initiated disciple, and he became his chief editor and assistant in that way. And then when Rupa and Sanatan and the other Goswamis left this world, Jiva Goswami he inherited the mantle and the responsibility to push on the mission of Mahaprabhu that had been revealed through Rupa. Then he took it up and began to expand it. And he did this in a number of ways. One, he made sure that the literatures of the Goswamis was rewritten and printed. Many different volumes would be made available. And he also then organized the Vaishnava community for the first time. Previously, it was, very, not organized in any kind of evangelical sense. But he established the Vishwa Vaishnava Raj Sabha, which is kind of like the predecessor of the institutions that we have today, which are organized for the purpose of training and preaching. This was the first thing. Jiva Goswami did this. And then by his order, he sent 3 of his prominent Shiksha disciples, Narottam, Srinivas, and Shyamananda Prabhu, with the entire collection of the Goswami's books back to Bengal in order to establish the proper Siddhanta, the correct Siddhanta of Rupa Goswami, of Mahaprabhu. And then on his order, they went to various places, to Orissa, to Assam, all through Bengal, and other places to begin the preaching. So he established that which Rupa Goswami had understood, the inner desire of Mahaprabhu, he took it to the next step. And so Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, he was very similar, but in the modern age. And this is an interesting thing, how the history of our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, Gurudev would say sometimes it rises, sometimes it ebbs a little bit and it becomes a little covered. That's why we had Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur come, he reestablished, and then it seemed to become dormant for a while. And then just as Mahaprabhu came and empowered and began this movement, then Bhaktivinoda Thakur came. Right? And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, how do we understand him? Namo Bhaktivinodaya Sachidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Sarupaya Rupanuga Padayate. That he represents the very Shakti, the very energy of Mahaprabhu himself. Who's that? Gadadhar Pandit, Srimati Radhika herself. And he therefore, and he's also called the seventh Goswami. So he embodied and took up the role that Rupa and Sanatan and the others had, but he did it in Navadvip Dham, the abode and the place of Mahaprabhu. And he reestablished so many forgotten pastime places, reestablished the Parikram, the Navadvip Parikram, and also revived and reestablished so many books of the Goswamis that had been forgotten and just lost. In fact, when he first heard of Chaitanya Charitamrita, it took him 11 years to get his own copy. It was such a rare book. And yet, by the time Bhaktivedanta Keshav Maharaj attended university for the short time that he did, by that time it had been instituted as a curriculum in his school. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur was responsible for the revival of that literature, the establishment of the pastime places to rediscover the place of Mahaprabhu's appearance. But then, so he was like the personification of Rupa Goswami, because Rupa Goswami also is non-different from Gaura Shakti. Why? Because Priyasurupe Dayakasarupe Premasurupe Sahajabirupe Nijanurupe Prabhureka Rupe Tatanurupe Suvilasa Rupe. The Rupa Goswami, very dear friend of Swarup Damodar, very dear to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In fact, he was the exact replica of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What does that mean? The exact replica of his love. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Gaura Shakti Sarupaya, that same quality, right? And then, as Rupa had his son, his disciple, who was also his nephew, Jiva Goswami, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, by his prayer, brought down Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, who was to become his son and his disciple. His initiated disciple, Saraswati Prabhupada, was, of course, Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, but his primary and Shiksha Guru, he had the responsibility to take on everything that Bhaktivinoda Thakur had written and revealed was carried in the heart of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. It was all there. One time in Navadvip, there was a great conference among the disciples of Saraswati Prabhupada, and there appeared to be some difference between a commentary by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada and Bhaktivinoda Thakur. In order to reconcile that and to explain how they weren't different, Bhaktivedanta Keshav Maharaj said that we can understand Bhaktivinoda Thakur through Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada because he was with him from the time he was a little child. And he was always with him, accompanied him to all his programs, all his lectures, and he became a little old. Just Jiva Goswami assisted Rupa Goswami in editing. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati assisted him in editing, right? He assisted in editing. And just as Jiva Goswami was considered the topmost scholar and authority in India, all people went to him. If there was anything that had to be resolved, Jiva Goswami was the authority. There's that famous story when the Akbar in Agra had an assembly of Brahmins and scholars, and they had a big argument about who's superior, the Ganga or Jamuna. And all kinds of different persons, Brahmin sages from all different schools, they couldn't resolve it. So they convinced Jiva Goswami to come down for the day, and by scholarship and realization, he was able to reconcile the considerations and make everybody happy. And for this, he awarded Akbar. He said, "What do you want?" He said, "Well, I don't want anything from you." And he said, "You must ask something." And so he said, "Give me paper," which was very rare. And on that paper, he had all the books of the Goswamis written, so many of them, and again, distributed. So he had that same role, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. And just as Jiva Goswami had set the Vishva Vaishnava Raj Sabh, Bhaktivinoda Thakur had requested that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati put into tangible form the preaching mission of Mahaprabhu. Right? He said that I want you to glorify and take to the world the glories of Sridham Mayapur. And you can do that most effectively by book distribution. And then we, as Gaurasundar had said earlier, he was lamenting, I don't have men, I don't have resources, but they all came to him. All these resources came to him because of the power of this personality, the extraordinary power. You have to understand, where was India at that time when Jiva Goswami was in Vrindavan? The first temples were just being built. It was all forest, village, nothing, right? But while he was there, Vrindavan became famous and so many temples came up. When Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada started his mission, the aunties of Bhaktivedanta Keshav said, "Oh, you don't have enough even brahmacharis and men even to ring the bell. How will you do this worldwide mission?" But he did. But he did. And just as Jiva Goswami had sent out his first preachers, he collected such high quality personalities, they were drawn to him from all parts of India, topmost persons, and he sent them out. Ultimately, of course, culminating in our Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. All the different schools and sampradayas had to bow to Jiva Goswami during the time of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. He was so expert in the philosophies of the four sampradayas and even Shankaracharya that he was consulted by the different sampradayas and mats if they had some point that they needed clarified. And even in discussions with some of the greatest scholars around the world, even from Ohio State University, from America and other places, these scholars would frankly say, "Oh, Maharaj, your scholarship, your language, your erudition, it's so great that even though you're speaking English, which is our native language, we can hardly follow you. You're so in depth and so detailed." That's pretty much what I wanted to point out. I mean, I had an extra hour to go where I could explain how that manifested, but we're all doing little snippets. So I just wanted to put that outlined there, and the relationship and how the mission of Rupa Goswami, as it manifested through his empowered son and disciple, Jiva Goswami, was duplicated and reinvented and revived, you could say, by Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. Okay, so, hey, where's my timer? Somewhere. Oh, it paused. Pressed the wrong button. All right. What am I at time? I must be over by now, right?
I didn't keep it because you were keeping it, Maharaj, but you know what? It's okay. We will continue on, but I wanted to say I really appreciated that you were drawing those parallels. Because I don't think, well, at least I haven't heard everything that was said because we cross so many time zones with this particular festival. But, you know, I didn't hear anyone in my hearing of it draw that connection between Jiva Goswami back to Rupa Goswami and to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, you know, as like the modern day incarnation of that. The other thing I really appreciated that you were doing was bringing in the actual prayers from the Mangalacharan about these acharyas. I made it a practice to read those, you know, not just to sing the Hindi or Sanskrit, but to actually read. And I was really struck, I'm struck every time I do, because it's like little things will pop into, our consciousness, like you were really explaining about the Manobishtam and all of that. But one thing in Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada's pranam mantra is that he is, like you said, he is here to deliver. It says Madhurya Jvala Pramaja Shri Rupa Nuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostite. He's delivering Shri Rupa Nuga Bhakti, which was exactly what you were talking about, enriched with Ujvala Madhurya Prem, and that he's the embodiment of the mercy potency of Shri Gauranga. That's it's so beautiful. And that the other thing in his pranam mantra that has always struck me is that it says he is the one who bestows realization of our eternal relationship with Sri Krishna. So I know that it's Srila Sanatan Goswami who's really the acharya of the Sambandha Gyan. However, sorry for that. Sorry for this interruption. I know he's the acharya of Sambandha Gyan, but that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada is actually carrying that forward. So I didn't know if you might have just a comment about that, Haribol.
About which? You said a lot of things.
I would say about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati being the one who bestows realization of our relationship with Krishna. That's in his pranam mantra, that he's the embodiment of the one who does that.
Well, that's Guru. That's what that goes to all of our gurus, just like they're all doing Gauravani. But one last thing I wanted to say, since I have another minute, is that when I was thinking about this, about Saraswati Prabhupada being like Jiva Goswami, then I was thinking, well, who's Narottam Srinivas Shamananda? I thought, well, that's our Srila Prabhupada, because they went out and gave it to common people all over India and introduced it according to their capacities, and really deeply established Gaudiya Vaishnava conceptions. And then I thought, well, who's our Gurudev? And I thought, oh, well, he's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, because coming a little later to revive things when things have gone off a little bit, or when things are a little bit confused, and to focus us on what the real goal is, to remind us of the mission of Mahaprabhu, Rupa Goswami, or you could say Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the Bhaktivinoda Dar, Srila Saraswati Prabhupada, Madhurya Jvala Prema Dya. I mean, that is it. That's it. So we have that group, we have that line, this is the modern day part of our Bhagavad Parampara. And, we can't leave Gurudev out of this, because he's the one that is clearly reviving and making sure that we are not just adhering to the goals of Vaidhi Bhakti alone, or the goal to become devotees in Dwarka or in Vaikuntha or in Ram Leela, but really focusing what Mahaprabhu came to give, Unnata Ujvala Rasam Svabhakti Sriyam. That this is, the Gurudev is intimately linked, and really, at least for myself, whatever I'm understanding and explaining, I owe obviously in the beginning to Srila Prabhupada, but also to Srila Gurudev, who unpacked and is revealing everything that what Srila Prabhupada actually was intending to give. So, yeah, this is really great that you're doing this. I'm really happy. I'm gonna run. I've got other things.
Maharaj, you're really early. Why are you?
Yeah.
Well, I lost track of my time, so I cut.
I think you have 10 more minutes, actually. But
Yeah.
I'm seeing if Syamarani could come on a little bit.
Yeah, some
earlier.
people go over time. I'll go under time. What's the harm?
I doubt Syamarani can come on early. That's the thing.
Well, I just texted Vasanti and she said, I asked, can Didi come on Zoom now? And she said, okay. So,
Okay, cool.
So we'll see. She might need just a few minutes, Yasodanandan, but
Right.
yeah. I've never been in the position of at this stage in the festival running so early. So it's usually the opposite. So this is actually a miracle in some ways.
Well, I kind of plan to go a little short anyway. I wanted to go a little short because I thought that you'd be running overtime.
I know, I mean,
So I had
it's
a more condensed thing. All
it's
right.
generally true. Let me see if she is here or if
Well,
we
you know,
should
ask Gore to talk. He can talk. He loves to talk. I'm gonna.
Manini, if she can't come on early, I could read the article I want to read now rather than at the end. But let's see if Syamarani can come on
I
early.
think
All
she
right.
might.
I'm gonna mute.
Let me just mute for a second. And see. Yasodanandan, if you want, I don't know if you want to call her or you want me to, either way.
I'll call Vasanti now.
But it's like at the opening of this this program was a little, sometimes we have that where we have to really be flexible on the fly to accommodate the various speakers and the different things that happen. But it's quite lovely. So if devotees could just bear with us for one moment.
Manini, she's coming on in 5. So you want to do some Maha Mantra?
Okay, so do you want to read your article? Do you have?
No, I won't get it done in 5.
Oh,
It's too long for 5. Maybe is there someone online who can
is someone
do
here
Maha
who
Mantra?
can do Kirtan? Maybe someone is here who, I know Bhavatarani and Nhrari are here. I know they were supposed to sing at the end. Maybe they can do a song for us.
So, yeah, great.
I don't know if they are available though. Let's see. Who else is here?
We could persuade them by threatening that I might do it. I might do Maha Mantra.
I don't know if they're actually here multitasking. Sometimes folks are doing that. And also
Jai Shree's here. She's a Kirtan here.
yeah.
Jai Shri, you there? She's like, oh my God, I've been rumbled.
No.
Probably cooking lunch or something. No, they're not ready.
Oh, they're not. Yeah, I see. Okay. All right. Well,
I think
I guess it's you and
I
me,
think it's
Yasodanandan.
you, Didi. Just do Maha Mantra if you don't. Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. I'll do a little Maha Mantra. Give me a time to warm up on my guitar anyway. Let's see. No, I don't want to do separation mood though. Let's see. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Wait. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I don't even have to play. Let's see. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Gurudeva, Jai Gurudeva, Gurudeva. Jai Gurudeva, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Gurudev, Jai Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, Jai 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 Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada Jai Guru Deva Jai Guru Deva Jai Guru Deva Jai Guru Deva Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaur Hari Bol. Dandavats. I don't know if Syamarani is here yet. And forgive my playing. That was very impromptu. Very impromptu. Let's see. Hari Bol.
I like the little jingle, the little bit at the end. It was really nice.
Thank you. Thank you. It's just totally impromptu. If Syamarani's not here, can maybe sing Srila Prabhupada's Pranam mantra or something.
Yeah, why not?
Let's see. Because it's always nice to have kirtan. I'm not a great kirtaniya. There's so many better ones on the line, but unfortunately not right.
Taruni was up for doing something. Taruni's still up for doing something.
Oh, that'd be lovely.
She's just said, sure. Okay. Hop on then.
Hare Krishna, Dhanava Pranam.
There you go. There you go. Wonderful.
Thank you.
All the way
I
from
see
Costa Rica.
Candace is pulling out the ukulele. If you want to wait a
Lovely.
second.
Sure. Lovely.
Is it in tune? But you might need to give us a shout when Syamarani Didi comes online.
Sure, no worries.
Try and keep an eye on it. Okay. Does this sound okay?
Yes, we can hear it.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna,
Haribol.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hi, thank you all so much. I meant to ask you to turn on your video, but it was still glorious with sound. I didn't want to interrupt because it was so ecstatic. But thank you so much, Taruni. And who is singing with you?
That's my husband, Nichinanda Das from Bolivia.
Oh, so
Yeah,
lovely. You two sound
know.
amazing.
Yes.
Quite beautiful. Thank you for filling in on the spot. I know it's very hard impromptu, but her Grace Syamarani is here now. I'm going to ask her to unmute and turn on her video. And while that is happening, I'm going to make an introduction, although this is another one on our program who really needs very little introduction, except for folks in posterity who may watch this later and say, who is this? But I think everyone knows who Srimati Syamarani Didi is. She is a really amazing Vaishnav who has, I know she'll say she's an aspiring Vaishnav, but an amazing soul who has been painting windows to the spiritual world, first under the guidance of Srila Prabhupada, and then later under Srila Gurudev, manifesting Srila Gurudev's Seva Kunj and Kunj Kirtan, and so many beautiful art pieces that it's hard to speak of. Her art serves as they're basically murtis of the Supreme Lord and are worshipped as such throughout the world. She has just recently released her book, The Bhakti Illuminations, and of course the Art of Spiritual Life. And so without further ado, and she's now actually, I just want to mention this, in the Florida area, Miami area, has a beautiful ashram going and growing. And so this is really fortunate that we are getting to hear from her on this day. And Didi, are you able to, I don't see you yet, but
Oh,
there you are. There you
Okay.
are. Haribol. All right,
Haribol.
Didi, you have 30 minutes, and we really, I'm just going to turn over the floor to you. Thank you so much. Haribol.
Hari Hari. Agyanam timirandasya Gyananjana salakaya Chaksuran militam yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. I offer my unlimited obeisances to Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev, all of our Gaudiya Guru Varga, and especially to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada and all of his associates on this most divine day. Without this day, none of us would be anywhere. So I'm going to focus.
Wait, Didi, 1 second. Your audio sounds just a little odd. I don't know if there's an.
I don't know why. I don't know what to do. What shall I do? Is it still odd? Is it still odd?
Sorry, I can hear you, but it sounds a little bit like there's like a tunneling effect or echo in the line. Is
I don't
everything
know.
plugged in very securely? Maybe that's.
Yeah. There's an airplane.
Oh, maybe. Well, okay. Well, yeah, we can hear you. So please continue. I'm sorry to interrupt, Didi.
No problem. All right. So I'm basing this discussion. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I'm basing this discussion on one website that a few of us made back in 1926 or so. And the website is called Unconventional Teachers. My godbrother, Nhrari Maharaj, made a whole big presentation called Deva Vision to supposedly glorify the Lord and his pure devotees. And he was glorifying Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. But there he said that Srila Prabhupada never did indeed have many highly qualified disciples, but still he was disturbed if he heard any disciples discussing Rasa Lila. Also, he did not allow any of his disciples to read such books as Gita Govinda, Ujjala Nilamani, and Govinda Lilamrita. So when they were saying that, when the video was saying that, they had a picture of our Srila Gurudev Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj's Gita Govinda, which was a direct slander to Srila Gurudev, indicating that he's out of the line of Srila Saraswati Thakur. And then they quoted a verse that Srila Sridhar Maharaj said was the motto of the Gaudiya Math. Mattalahari jane vishaya range, ujjala ragapata gaurava bange. And they said that the translation of that, they quoted Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami, always worship the path of Rag Marg, spontaneous devotion, but don't rush ahead. Keep yourself a little distant and below. One who transgresses these instructions will be cast down. That was the motto of the Gaudiya Math. So when Srila Gurudev saw this video, he immediately called me and he said, write an article defeating this nonsense. Because first of all, that was not a translation. Srila Sridhar Maharaj never meant that to be a translation of this verse by Srila Saraswati Thakur, which is the motto of the Gaudiya Math. And Manini Radha, your Guru Maharaj, he gave from Srila Gurudev, he gave the proper translation. That is Pujala Ragapata Gaurava Bange. Ragapata means spontaneous devotion. What is spontaneous devotion? It states in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and Chaitanya Charitamrita that when one becomes attached to the Supreme Lord, his natural inclination to love is fully absorbed in thoughts of the Lord. That is called Ragatmika Bhakti. So that means that Gaurava Bange means to break. Like you've heard of Man Bange, Krishna's breaking the man of Srimati Radhika. So Gaurava means awe and reverence. So those who are actually teachers in our line, they are Gaurava Bange. They break the teaching that one has to have awe and reverence for the Supreme Lord. And instead, they teach Matala, means absorption. Absorption in the beautiful, amorous pastimes of Krishna. Vishaya Range, in the pastimes of Krishna. That's internally, they're fully absorbed in Bhav. They're situated in Prem, but they're pretending to be Bhav Bhaktas, and they're in internal consciousness. And externally, they teach the world of fortunate souls how to enter into Raganuga Bhakti, where the Gaurava, the awe and reverence, is Bange, is finished. So your Guru Maharaj gave from your Param Gurudev, gave the translation, which is the servants of Hari revel in satisfying his transcendental desires in the spiritual world. They worship, and externally, they worship the path of spontaneous devotion, whereby awe and reverence is overthrown. So Krishna is the only Vishaya, the only enjoyer. And the Ashraya, or the abode of love, is Guru, the pure devotees, and especially Srimati Radhika. Then sometimes the other way to say that verse of Srila Prabhupada's is Kirtan Range. The servants of Hari revel in the chanting of the holy name. They worship the path of Raganuga Bhakti, whereby awe and reverence is overthrown. And this is the real existence. So on their website, where they're criticizing Srila Gurudev, they have Srila Sridhar Goswami Maharaj's own voice. So we took the opportunity to hear that. Pujala Ragapata Gaurava Bange. This is Bhakti Siddhanta Vani. The real existence of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta is here. Now, regarding his actual, then the website, our website that is, quotes a few of Srila Prabhupada's lectures, which confirm that. And so I'll just briefly give an overview of those particular lectures. It was just a few days before Srila Prabhupada was going to leave. Srila Gurudev was explaining in this lecture, he knew that he would be going to his master, and therefore he gave some final instructions to his disciples. And Gurudev's Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Goswami Maharaj, whose appearance day was just yesterday, he was there, as were a few other disciples. He told those in attendance, I am unhappy. I've come for a mission. I've come to give those things that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave to give. Unat Ujjvala Ras Swabhakti Sriyam. and the mood of separation and gopi prem. Prabhupada is saying to his disciples, Mahaprabhu ordered me to teach the reasons that he came to this world and to share his gifts. That is Manjari Bham, Swabhakti Sriyam. Sriyam, in our Srila Prabhupada's translation of that verse, it says that Sriyam means treasure, treasure chest. So when a treasure chest is locked, you can't experience it. But when it's open, then you get the whole thing, which is Manjari Bhav. So Srila Prabhupada was lamenting that I came to give this separation. I came to give this Unad Ojjvala Ras. But first, there was so many Mayavadis and so many Sahajiyas. So I had to cut so many jungles. And still there are more jungles left throughout the world. So most of my time was spent in clarifying philosophical points. And then Gurudev said, saying this, his mood changed and his face became reddish. And then he spoke the following verse. Yasha kadapi vasananchala kela nota tanyati tanya pavanena kritargamani yogendra durgamagati madhusudanopi tasya namostu vishabhanu prabodhashepi. Many of you know this meaning. Obeisances to the direction that faces Sri Vrishabhanu Maharaj's daughter. When the breeze coming from that direction playfully moves the edge of her garment and went to the other side of Radha Kund, where Krishna was lamenting in separation from her, then Krishna himself, who cannot be obtained by the greatest of yogis, he himself thinks, oh, now my life has become a success. That's from the Radha Rasa Sudhanidhi that Srila Prabhupada was quoting. Then he quoted another verse beginning Smara Vilasita Kalpe Jopavila Manalpam. Oh, Radha, who, without going anywhere else, stays on the couch of amorous pastimes, talking for a long time with Sri Krishna and embracing him so strongly that they become like one. Please become the object of my vision and delight in my eyes, even for a moment. Then Srila Prabhupada explained that Krishna is very obedient to Srimati Radhika. She's full of pride because he's fully controlled by her. Why? Because of her Madhya Bhav. There's two kinds of bhav of the gopis. One is Tadiya Bhav, I am Krishna's, and one is Madhya Mai Bhav, that is full absorption and envelopment in the idea that Krishna is mine. And therefore her mood is called Sakya, whereas Chandravali, who has Tadiya Bhav, I belong to Krishna, she has Maitri. So Radharani's mood is like honey, and Chandravali's mood is like ghee. Honey is very sweet and very smooth and flowing. Ghee is also smooth and flowing, but it's not so sweet. It needs some extra ingredients to make it sweet. So whereas Krishna is only controlled by the prominent orders of Chandravali, telling him something directly, and in that he may still cheat her, any hint of Srimati Radhika, and he's falling at her feet to follow her orders. So Srila Prabhupada said that he was particularly ordered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to teach the world that, number one, Srimati Radhika is the most powerful among all the gopis, and two, that in order to become her dasi, we will have to become Rupanuga, full followers of Rupa Goswami, and then ultimately Rupa Manjari, and then we can serve Srimati Radhika as her dasi. Then he explained that there is some Priyanam Sakis who are the most intimate Sakas, rather, of Krishna. Some of them serve Radha, and some of them serve Krishna to help with some of them serve Radha, and some of them help with Chandravali's relationship. Like Subal and Sridham help with Radharani's. And Srila Prabhupada Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he only wanted to preach this Rupa Nuga Bhakti. It can't be preached, it can only be inspired. So at the end of this manifested stay in the world, he told his intimate followers, I could not do this, and so I'm unhappy. So you should all gather together and come under the shelter of Ashraya Tattva. That is the principle of the pure devotee, the reservoir of love for Krishna, and they are all under Srimati Radhika. So this was the root motive of all of his activities, to give this to the world. Then Srila Gurudev gave a lecture of Srila Prabhupada's glories. This was in 2003 in Olpe, Germany. He was saying, what is Gauravani? Because this lecture was in Gurudev's book called Gauravani Pracharane, which is our Srila Prabhupada's, Pranam mantra. He came to preach the Gauravani. So Gurudev is saying that Srila Prabhupada is Gauravani Murti. He's the Murti, the embodiment of Gauravani. And what is Gauravani? It's just basically and foundationally, Gaurachandra told his associates, "O Nityananda, O Haridas, go from door to door to preach. Bolo Krishna, Bhaja Krishna, Kodo Krishna Shiksha. Chant the holy names, worship Krishna, and serve Krishna." This is Gauravani. But more deeply, Gauravani is also what Mahaprabhu discussed with Rai Ramananda and Swarup Damodar in the Gambhira, in the mood of Srimati Radhika. And especially his hidden revelation of the first and last two verses of Shikshastakam when he was in the mood of Srimati Radhika. Gauravani is also the love and affection explained by Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. That was another thing that this Deva Vision video said that made Srila Gurudev so disturbed, which was that Prabhupada was against anyone, even his advanced devotees, reading Ujjala Nilamani and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Vidagdha Madhava, and Lalita Madhava, which is a major offense to Srila Rupa Goswami. And that's the thing that Gurudev was explaining, that if you offend one, you can't offend one pure Vaishnava and expect to be respectful to another. In the name of just wiping Gurudev out from the Rupa Nuga, from the line of Srila Prabhupada, they actually had to offend everybody up to Rupa Goswami. Then Gurudev said, our entire disciplic succession descended to this world from Goloka Vrindavan, and Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is one of the most prominent acharyas. If he hadn't come, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission would have turned into Sahajiyism. And that's what was happening when he appeared in this world, which is nothing but a bunch of asat sampradayas, non-permanent, illusory teachings.
Haribol, Didi?
Yes,
I think
my time over.
Pandit, do you have your hand up? Did you have a question, Prabhu? Let me ask you to unmute for a second. I didn't know.
Oh, thank you. Hare Krishna. Dandavas. I didn't have a question. I was just maybe
Oh.
just saying Hare.
Oh, okay, sorry. It's all right. Going back. Sorry, Didi, to interrupt. I didn't know.
How much more time do I have?
You
How
have
much-
11, you have over 11 minutes, Didi. 11 to 12
Great.
minutes.
Okay, great. So when, at the time of Srila Prabhupada, so many nonsense devotees left their guru, our Srila Prabhupada, and they also left their, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And they just wanted to remember Astakaliya Lila, the 8 periods of the day of Krishna's pastime, not as gopis, but as gopis. They would give false name, false activities, and tell their followers to meditate on that. You are such and such gopi. So this is one of the major things. There are 11 or so Sahajiya groups, and Srila Prabhupada came to completely, what is that? Rupanuga, Virudyapa, Siddhanta, Vantaharane. Any teaching that was opposed to the teachings of Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur would completely demolish that. Then in another lecture, these are like excerpts from different lectures, which we put on this particular website called Unconventional Teachers, to show that Srila Prabhupada is not, our Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, is exactly point for point in the mood and line and teachings, a manifestation of Srila Prabhupada Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So in this lecture called The Giver of Madhurya Bhakti, that was in Singapore, February 13, 2001. So he began, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prastaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namane. In his pranam mantras, it's stated, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati means Divya Saraswati. There are 2 Saraswatis. The material Saraswati, who gives material music and knowledge. But then there's Divya Saraswati, who is Srimati Radhika herself. So he is the manifestation of the Siddhanta given by Srimati Radhika herself, dictating to him through the disciplic succession and directly to him. And he's the Murtiman Vigraha. He's the Murtiman Vigraha of Bhakti Siddhanta, the personification of the doctrines of pure bhakti. Close the window. He's given birth. I'm sorry for all the noise, they're doing construction work. So all the knowledge that Krishna gave to Brahma, that Brahma gave to Narada, that Narada gave to Vyas, that was coming down to the Rupanuga Vaishnavas, down to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who's Gadadhar Pandit himself, who in turn is Srimati Radhika herself, down to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj. All the philosophical truths of the Vedas, Upanishads, and all the scriptures were embodied in Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. That's why he's called Bhakti Siddhanta Murtiman Vigraha, personification of that. If any person would come to argue with him philosophically, he would immediately defeat them and they would immediately have to accept all of his teachings. Then he's quoting the other verse, the beginning verse. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale. He was very near and dear to Krishna, very near and dear, but that was in his male form. But who is he really? in the second sloka of his pranam mantra, it's stated, he's Brishabhanu Devi Doitaya. He's really the eternal maidservant of Srimati Radhika, very dear to her in the form of Nayana Mani Manjari. The money means like a gem, a shiny gem, and Nayana means eye. So he is the personification of the eye. This is like inconceivable, of the eyes of Srimati Radhika. Number one, when she looks towards Krishna in her pastimes with him, Nayana Mani Manjari is the personification of that. And also, when Srimati Radhika looks towards this world, Srila Prabhupada is also the personification of that glance of mercy, Kripa Kataksha, towards this world. Just like Rupa Goswami is the personification of Srimati Radhika's Rupa or beauty, and Raghunath Das Goswami is Rati Manjari, the personification of Srimati Radhika's Rati, or her unlimited attachment for Krishna. Similarly, Nayana Mani Manjari is the personification of Radharani's eyes, looking at Krishna in her pastimes, or looking for Krishna, feeling separation as she's searching for him in the forest, where the whole forest turns into blue lotus flowers, seeing Krishna everywhere. And it's also her glance of mercy towards us. That's why he's Kripam Buddhi. He's the ocean of mercy. Just like we sing, Kripa Kataksha. He is the personification of that. And also Radharani shows Kripa to Krishna, who falls at her feet and begs her mercy. And after the rasa dance, Krishna put his arms around Radharani's neck. Please don't leave me anymore. Don't leave me, just like a child may do to the mother. Thus, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur has two forms. One form is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associate, and the other form is Goloka, Vrindavan, in Svetadweep. So what does she do there? The Gurudev is saying the exact same services that are done by Srila Raghunath Das Goswami in his prayers for service that we see in Vilap Kusmanjali, the same exact services are done by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, like waking her up in the kunja, bringing her back to her house while she's sleeping, picking out her clothes and ornaments, arranging for her bath, getting water for her bath from Pavan Sarovar, Jamuna, depending on where Radharani is, if she's home or if she's not home, and bringing her out on the Abhisar to meet with Krishna, assuring Radharani, if Radharani sees a fruitless, flowerless, leafless tree, that don't worry, it's just a tree, it's not a man watching you. And then, so she serves in all the ways, same ways as Raghunath Das Goswami and Rupa Goswami. Of course, all manjaris have some specialty, but most of what they do is the same. And then Kripabdoi. He's not called an ocean of mercy only because he gave Harinam. He gave so much more. He brought Goloka Vrindavan. He brought the love and affection of the gopis to this world. If he had not brought these things, then the whole world would have been devoid of mercy. Krishna Sambandha Big Jnanam as opposed to Jnanam, he doesn't only give intellectual understanding of the Sambandha, but he actually gives, like touching on the head and giving realized knowledge. That's why our Srila Prabhupada told us in 1967, just before he went to the airport, to go back to Vrindavan the first time. And I had made some paintings of Prabhupada, his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Gorkashwar Das Babaji Maharaj, and Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. So just before Prabhupada left the temple to go to the airport, he offered his full sastang dandavats to the paintings. And he said, when the father is not there, the grandfather and great-grandfather take care of the children better than the father could. He said, so they will take care of you better than me and more intimately. So in this world, speaking of Krishna Sambandha relationship, Vigyanam, Daine Prabhave Namaha. So we have relationships with our father and mother and sister and brother, but we're not satisfied. So we go out and get a husband and a wife and a girlfriend, a boyfriend. We're not satisfied with that. Then we want to change boyfriends, change girlfriends. But where have these relationships come from? They originate in Goloka Vrindavan. And actually, we only have one relationship, and that is with Radha and Krishna. And he's not father there. He's a friend, he's a baby, he's a beloved. So in the constitutional form of our soul, there is that relationship with Krishna, and Srila Prabhupada Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur came to give realization of that. Then, Madhur Jojila Prem Adya. Adya means enriched with prem. Enriched with what kind of prem? Ujjvala Ras. Ujjvala Ras is the relationship of the most brilliant relationship with Krishna, and that is of the gopis. And the manjaris have a special kind of relationship. All the gopis have what's called Suhrid Bhav with Srimati Radhika, but the gopis, for the maid servants of Krishna, they have Bhavulas Rati. That is, when the relationship with Krishna, when the relationship with Radha is almost as much as with their relationship with Krishna, that's called Suhrid Bhav. And that's the Sanchari Bhav. It comes and it goes. Like a wave comes up in the ocean and then drops back into the ocean. But the Manjaris have Bhavulas Rati, meaning their Suhrid Bhav, their friendship with Radharani, is not only like a wave, it comes like the ocean and takes over the whole thing and becomes their Sthayi Bhav. And that is exactly what Srila Prabhupada Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur came to give.
Didi, you're at time now, but if you want to say just some things to wrap, that would be wonderful, Haribol.
All right, to wrap. Okay, I'll just wrap up the verse. So Sri Rupanuga Bhakti Dar, he descended the world only for preaching Rupanuga Vaishnava. That's more than Raganuga. Rupanuga is specifically the servants of Sri Rupa Manjari. So therefore, Gurudev said, because Srila Prabhupada was lamenting at the end that I spent my time cutting jungles, but here's my real mood. So Gurudev said, because of that, he's been very alert not to cut jungles. But when he came to the West, he found that he had to cut jungles. So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, without him, we would be nothing. Without him, we would not have the books of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur gave a wealth of songs and books to the world. But if Srila Prabhupada had not published it, in Gurudev's words, it would have gone into the stomach of the rats. So we owe him everything. We owe our Gurudevs to him. We owe everything that we have to him. And so we pray that he will bless us, that we start with Guru Nistha, the backbone of bhakti, and ultimately develop what he came to teach, which is that Ashraya, serve the Ashraya Tattva, beginning with Guru and ultimately to Srimati Radhika. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Panchakovatri Dastrika Pisindadevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah.
Dandavats. Didi, that's so wonderful. You know, one thing I always appreciate hearing from you is the illumination of the importance of the books and to say that these came, you know, that without Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, we would be nothing and have nothing. It's true, because of what I've learned from hearing you share what Srila Gurudev, Srila Prabhupada have shared, is that the books are actually Bhagavad. You know, the book of Bhagavats are important. They're not books. They are actually like the living Vani coming into our hearts, and that when we sit to read or to hear, we have darshan of those acharyas and of their love and their mercy to deliver us, that this is part of the Cheto Darpana Marjanam, is, if I understand correctly, that is cleansing the mirror of our hearts so that we can.
You muted yourself. You muted yourself, Manini.
I'm not muting, but did you hear me? I don't know if you heard, but
You cut out for 3 seconds.
oh, it's probably not important, but I needed to say, I was just
You said
thinking
about
that,
cleaning of the heart.
yeah, that the books are, I was saying the books are part of that Cheto Darpana Marjanam process, if I understand correctly. I was going to ask
100%.
Syamarani.
100%.
Yeah. So thank you for reminding us that when we sit down with them, that they're not just some books, or like someone said, they're not just relics. I think it was Gaurasundar Prabhu. These aren't just Bengali relics. This is living ocean that we are swimming in right now. And if we practice the limbs of bhakti, especially Shravan and Kirtanam, that we will actually eventually find ourselves in the same position as our predecessors, these acharya predecessors, where we too can swim in that ocean of prem and have those moods. That's at least what I'm hoping for. Haribol. Thank you so much.
Can I ask Syamarani a quick question?
Yes,
Syamarani, you said in passing that the manjaris, you said something like they all do the same thing or something like that.
they all
And I
have
thought-
specialities, but they all do the same thing. Shamra, dressing, bathing,
Yeah.
taking out to Abhisar, cheating the in-laws.
But in Rasik terms, the Leela is always ever fresh, so nothing's ever the same.
Absolutely. Ever fresh, ever new, ever opening.
Yeah.
But at the same time in Anugatya. And that's why Raghunath
Yeah.
Das Goswami prayed in verse 72, when will Rupa Goswami give me her remnants by giving me one of the feet of Srimati Radhika to massage. They do the same things, but it's all in Anugatya. Similar things. Okay.
Jai, Haribol, and I know Yasodanandan, there was something you wanted to read as well.
Yes. It's an article. I'll just invoke and then read it. I thought someone was going to actually read this article, and so I waited till the end, and no one has dived into this article. Om Gyan Tirmandasya Gyanjana Salakya Chakshon Militam Yana Tashmai Shri Guru Namaha Vanchakapatubhischa Kripasinduyacha Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namanamaha Vinadapi Sunichana Tarorapi Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kitni Sadahani Tate Nukampam Susamikshamano Bunjana Vetma Krita Vipikam Hitvak Vakudevi Didam Namaste Jivita Yomukti Sadaya Bak Anyabalasta Sunyam Gyan Kamadina Vratam Manu Kalenia Krishna Shilanam Bhakti Uttama Harinama Harinamaiva Kevalam Kalanastieva Gyatya Anyata Jai Gurudev, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Srupa, Rupanuga Guruvag, Jai Raghunath Goswami, Jai Rupa Goswami, Jai Raghunath Das Goswami, Jai Raghunath Das Goswami, Jai Rupa Goswami, Jai Nitai, Jai Gauranga, Jai Shishi Radha, and Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. My humble obeisances to my beloved Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, to the entire parampara, and I pay my obeisances to all the beautiful assembled jewel Chintamani stones of devotees assembled today through whichever medium. So this article is actually, it was given to me by Yashashri Didi. When I first read it several years ago, and I think it's a fitting finish because it encapsulates about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. It encapsulates just how incredibly magnificent he is in every single way, and how he can hold opposite thoughts in his head and heart at the same time and actually act upon them. Anyway, as is the case with Srila Prabhupada, his vocabulary is extraordinary. So at some points, because some of you, maybe English isn't your first language, I will explain a couple of the words, because and I will go slowly, because his English is quite, how would you say, it's very rich and sometimes complex. Sri Krishna, can you hear me okay, Manini? Yeah. Sri Krishna manifests his eternal birth in the pure cognitive essence of the serving soul, who is located above all mundane limitations. King Kamsa is the typical aggressive empiricist. So empiricist meaning someone who only believes what he or she can experience through his senses, ever on the lookout for the appearance of the truth for the purpose of suppressing him before he has time to develop. There is no exaggeration of the real connotation of the consistent empiric position. The materialist has a natural repugnance for the transcendental. He is disposed to think that faith in the incomprehensible is the parent of dogmatism and hypocrisy in the guise of religion. He is also equally under the delusion that there is no real dividing line between the material and the spiritual. He is strengthened in his delusion by the interpretation of scriptures, by persons who are like-minded with himself, and this includes all lexicographic interpreters, i.e. interpreters who just rely upon dictionary wordplay. The lexicographical interpretation is upheld by Kamsa as the real scientific explanation of the scriptures, and is perfectly in keeping with his dread and of an aversion for the transcendental. These lexicographical interpreters are employed by Kamsa in putting down the first suspected appearance of any genuine faith in the transcendental. King Kamsa knows very well that if the faith in the transcendental is once allowed to grow, it is sure to upset all his empiric prospects. There is historic ground for such misgivings. Accordingly, if the empiric domination is to be preserved intact, it would be necessary not to lose a moment to put down the transcendental heresy the instant it threatens to make its appearance in earnest. King Kamsa, acting on this traditional fear, is never slow to take the scientific precaution of deputing empiric teachers of the scriptures, backed by resources of dictionary and grammar and all empiric subtleties, to put down by the show of specious arguments based on hypothetical principles, the true interpretation of the eternal religion revealed by the scriptures. Kamsa is strongly persuaded that faith in the transcendental can be effectively put down by empiricism if prompt and decisive measures are adopted at the very outset. He attributes the failure of atheism in the past to the neglect of the adoption of such measures before the theistic fallacy has had time to spread among the fanatical masses. Of course, he thinks the theistic is a fallacy because he is atheistic. Of course, we think the opposite. But Kamsa is found to count without his host. When Krishna is born, he's found to be able to upset all sinister designs against those who are apprised by himself of his advent. The apparently causeless faith displayed by persons irrespective of age, sex, and condition may confound all rabid empiricists who on principle adverse to the absolute truth, whose appearance is utterly incompatible with the domination of empiricists, with the domination of empiricism. But no adverse efforts of the empiricists, whose rule seems till then to be perfectly well established over the minds of the deluded souls of this world, can dissuade any person from exclusively following the truth when he actually manifests his birth in the pure cognitive essence of the soul. Now the article starts to pick up pace. Purna is the slayer of all infants. The baby, when he or she comes out of the mother's womb, falls at once into the hands of the pseudo-teachers of religion. These teachers are successful in forestalling the attempts of the good preceptor, whose help is never sought by the atheists of this world at the baptisms of their babies. This is ensured by the arrangement of all established churches of the world. I'm going to repeat that sentence. This is ensured by the arrangements of all established churches of the world. They have been successful only in supplying watchful putnas for effecting the spiritual destruction of persons from the moment of their birth with the cooperation of their worldly parents. No human contrivance can prevent these putnas from obtaining possession of the pulpits. This is due to the general prevalence of atheistic disposition in the people of the world. The church that has the best chance of survival in this damned world is that of atheism under the convenient guise of theism. The churches have always proved the staunchest upholders of the grossest form of worldliness, from which even the worst of non-ecclesiastical criminals are found to recoil. It is not that from any deliberate opposition to the ordained clergy that these observations are made. The original purpose of the established churches of the world may not always be objectionable, but no stable religious arrangement for instructing the masses has yet been successful. The Supreme Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in pursuance of the teachings of the scriptures, enjoins all absence of conventionalism for the teachers of the eternal religion. It does not follow that the mechanical adoption of the unconventional life by any person will make him a fit teacher of religion. Regulation is necessary for controlling the inherent worldliness of conditioned souls. But no mechanical regulation has any value, even for such a purpose. The bona fide teacher of religion is neither any product of nor the favorer of any mechanical system. In his hands, no system has likewise the chance of degenerating into a lifeless arrangement. The mere pursuit of fixed doctrines and fixed liturgies, so a liturgy is a system of worship. The mere pursuit of fixed doctrines and fixed liturgies cannot hold a person to the true spirit of doctrine or liturgy. The idea of an organized church in an intelligible form indeed marks the close of the living spiritual movement. I'm going to repeat that sentence. It's like amazing. The idea, this is a person who set up 64 mats. The idea of an organized church in an intelligible form indeed marks the close of the living spiritual movement. The great ecclesiastical establishments are the dikes and dams to retain the current that cannot be held by any such contrivances. They indeed indicate a desire on the part of the masses to exploit a spiritual movement for their own purpose. They also unmistakably indicate the end of the absolute and unconventional guidance of the bona fide spiritual master. The people of this world understand preventative systems. They have no idea at all of the unprevented positive eternal life. neither can there be any earthly contrivance for the permanent preservation of the life eternal on this mundane plane on the popular scale. I'll just repeat that sentence again. Neither can there be any earthly contrivance for the permanent preservation of the life eternal on this mundane plane on the popular scale. Those are therefore greatly mistaken who are disposed to look forward to the amelioration, i.e. the betterment, of the worldly state in any worldly sense from the worldly success of any really spiritual movement. It is these worldly expectants who become the patrons of the mischievous race of the pseudo-teachers of religion, the Putanas, whose congenial function is to stifle the theistic disposition of at the very moment of its suspected appearance. So he's basically saying that institutionalized so-called spirituality is the death of the real life eternal. But the real theistic disposition can never be stifled by the efforts of those Putanas. The Putanas have power only over the atheists. It is a thankless task. It is thankless but salutary task which they perform for the benefit of their unwilling victims. But as soon as theistic disposition proper makes its appearance in the pure cognitive essence of the awakened soul, the Putanas are decisively silenced at the very earliest stage of their encounter with the newborn Krishna. The would-be slayer is herself slain. This is the reward of the negative services that the Putanas unwittingly render to the cause of theism by strangling all hypocritical demonstrations against their own hypocrisy. But Putana does not at all like to receive her reward in the only form which involves the total destruction of her wrong personality. King Kamsa also does not like to lose the services of the most tested of his agents. The effective silencing of the whole race of pseudo-teachers of religion is the first clear indication of the appearance of the Absolute on the mundane plane. The bona fide teacher of the Absolute heralds the advent of Krishna by his uncompromising campaign against the pseudo-teachers of religion. So it would seem to me that there is a kind of if you will, an expediency or a practicality of creating institutions because devotees have to be cultivated from nothing in the West. But then they end up, if you look what's happening now, we have so many different gurus who are all traveling independently everywhere. There is cooperation, there is some harmony, and the awakened soul is congregating around the guru, not around an institution. And if you look at the works of my Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj, you can see there was no interest from him to create an institution in the mold that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada is warning us of against. So I think it's extraordinary. Here's a great personality who actually created 64 mats, warning us that it is the institution that is the Putana that will slay the awakened soul, but that the Putana cannot be successful because the awakened soul will always get away and will always find their spiritual master and will always ultimately prosper. It is only the theists that get caught in the trappings of the institution. So, with that said, I'm going to hand back to Manini Radha in a moment. I want to thank the whole team. It's been an amazing day, a beautiful worshipping of this extraordinary personality, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada Jagat Guru. It's been a wonderful emceeing from everybody, really extraordinary, first class, very, very good. We've been totally on time. Actually, I think I'm the only one taking it overtime. And beautiful Kirtan as well, which we're so grateful for. And we've got more Kirtan to come. And we've got our beautiful couple, Nhrari and Bhavatarani, singing still from America and India to come. And I always love to thank the beautiful guests who've come throughout the day, our family, lending your two beautiful ears so that we can all relish Hari Katha together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Dandavat pranams.
Haribo.
But Nhrari, were you going to say something? I think that we could just move into your kirtan. I think.
Can you hear me?
Lovely.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Because it's my new phone, and I'm under 808-282-4295. It's just a number. Bhavatarani was gonna sing first, and I'll be closing. So I don't know if Bhavatarani is there.
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you all were in separate places. I've never experienced you. The distance that separates also connects. So
Yes.
So I'm going to sing the poem that our Srila Prabhupada wrote for his Srila Prabhupada in 1935 on the occasion of his Vyasa Puja. And I don't know if you heard earlier, but Padmanabha Maharaj read the poem and gave an explanation of each verse earlier today. And
wow. I
yeah.
have to go back. I don't think anyone can take in the whole festival in one sitting. So it's
I tried not to, but I spent most of my time. I slept for 1 hour. I spent most of my day watching the Zoom class.
I think I slept more. So yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed you, Bhavatarani. Yes.
Yes. I couldn't stop watching it. It was addictive. So this poem, when Srila Prabhupada wrote it, Nimi Maharaj also mentioned that Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati really liked the verse, absolute is sentient, thou hast proved, a personal calamity thou hast moved. And after Srila Prabhupada wrote this, it was, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave him the title Kavi. So Nhrari Prabhu and I made a melody to go with it years ago, and I'm going to attempt to sing it now. Chai. Omakina Taranjasha Gina Gina Shlakaya Chakshuru Militanjina Tashmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nevasesha Sunyavadi Pastachade Shatarane Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatnae Shri Sriman Bhaktivedanta Narayaniti Namane Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Iti Namane Vanchakalpatrubhascha Kripa Sindhu Chevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So I'm in Vrindavan, and Nhrari Prabhu right now is in Los Angeles.
Good enough.
Adoratory, all the happy day, blessed than heaven, sweeter than May. We appeared in Puri, the holy place. My Lord and Master, His divine grace. Oh, my Master, the evangelic angel, give us thy light, light up thy candle, struggle for existence, a human race. The only hope is divine grace. This love, we're all going astray. Save us, Lord, our fervent pray. Wonder thy ways, to turn our face. Adore thy feet, your divine grace. forgotten Krishna, we fallen souls, paying most heavy the illusions told. Darkness around, all untraced, the only hope is divine grace. Message of service thou hast brought, healthful life as Chaitanya wrought. Unknown to all, it's full of grace. That's your gift, your divine grace. Absolute ascension thou hast proved, impersonal calamity thou hast removed. This gives us a life anew and fresh. Worship thy feet, your divine praise. Had you not come, who had told the message of Krishna, forceful and bold? That's your right, you have the base. Save me if fallen, your divine grace. The line of service as drawn by you is pleasing and healthy, like the morning dew. The oldest of all, but in new dress. Miracle done, your divine grace. Miracle done, your divine grace. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Bhakti Siddhanta Srila Prabhupada. Bhakti Siddhanta Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Bhakti Siddhanta Srila Prabhupada. Bhakti Siddhanta Srila Prabhupada. Jai Hari Bol.
Wow, wonderful, beautiful. Thank you so much. And now, Nhrari, you're going to do a selection as well.
Yes, I'll do Guru Vandanam.
Hi.
Chai. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyabari Paschachalista Nama Om Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyadmane Sri Bhaktivedanta Narayana Niti Namine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine. Sri Guru Charana Padma Kevalava Kati Sadma Andomui Sabadana Mate Tahara Pransadevai Evavata Vijatai Krishna Prapti Hojana Krishna Prapti Hoy Janga, Hoy Te, Ka, Padmavakya, Titeko, Yaigwa, Arna Kori Homane, Asha. Siguru Charanerati, Ese Utamagati, Te Prastade, Kure Sarva, Chakudana Dilo De, Jamne Jamne Prabhu Se, Chakudana Dilo De, Jamne Jamne Prabhu Se, Gandhi De Prakashito, Gandhi De Prakashito, Prema Bhakti Hoite, Avidya Vinasa Jatu, Prema Bhakti Hoite, Avidya Vinasa Jatu, Vivekaya Jahara Charito, Vivekaya Jahara Charito, Siguru Karuna Sindhu, Adama Janara Bandhu, Siguru Karuna Sindhu, Adama Janara Bandhu, Lokana Lokera Jivana, Lokana Lokera Jivana, Aha Prabhu Korodoya, Dehamore Pada Jaya, Aha Prabhu Korodoya, Dehamore Pada Jaya, Kushu Tribhuvana, Kushu Tribhuvana, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Bhakti Siddhanta Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Siddhanta Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudeva Srila Gurudeva, Jaya Bhakti Siddhanta Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Vedanta Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaga Guru Srila Prabhupada, Jaga Guru
Srila Prabhupada.
Bhaja Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Sivasari Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, oh, sorry, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita,
Sivasari Gaur Bhaktavrinda.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Jai Radha, Govinda Radha, Govinda Radha, Govinda Sri Radhe, Jaya Radha, Madan Mohan Radha, Madan Mohan Radhe, Jaya Radha, Gopinatha, Radha, Gopinatha, Radha, Gopinatha Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Sri Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Sri Radhe. Jaya Bhakti Siddhanta Sila Prabhupada. Bhakti Siddhanta Sila Prabhupada.
Jaya Bhakti Siddhanta Srila Prabhupada. Siddhanta Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Sri Guru Granth.
Jai, beautiful across the miles. Wow.
There's a little
Yasodanandan,
bouncing
I don't know.
echo.
Yeah, it's okay though, but the mood and the spirit of it is coming through. It's really quite lovely and very inspiring for me. An aspiring guitarist. Yeah.
Thank you. Jai Haribo. I'm off to my flight. I'm running. But, thank you for the opportunity to be able to honor our
So
three
you
gurus.
go to India now?
No, I'm going to Hawaii for a couple of weeks, and then I'll be going to Krishna willing, Radharani willing. I'll be going to back to Vrindavan and hopefully Mayapur. Thank you, Prabhu Yasodanandan, and especially for you reading such amazing work. That paper is just it's fantastic. I wish if you can send me a way or a link to
yeah, no, I can't find it anywhere. I'll send you. I've only got it photographed. I'll send you a photograph.
Okay, because it will be a fantastic article that I could send a part of my family, a cousin that is Professor Yale, and you know he's got his views, and I think this article will be
I'll send it to you now. Yeah.
All right.
Can you send that through the Bhakti Zoom so that we all can have that article, Yasodanandan? That would be lovely.
Can you attach stuff on? But I'll put it on the Bhakti. I'll put it on the Zoom. Oh yeah, the WhatsApp group. You mean? Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
yeah, that would be great.
I'll do all that. And I'm eager for you to be reunited with Bhavatarani because my heart's a bit pained that you're in separation every week. So
Yeah.
I can see it in both of your eyes. It's painful and beautiful at the same time.
Well, thank you. Well, now we have to aspire to have even higher, more intense feelings for our Guru Vargas, especially our Guru Devs, and like that.
But you know, Bhaktistan Saraswati Prabhupada, he said he loved his householders because they go through all these emotions, so they have some understanding, some connection with what it means. So these emotions are not without their uses.
Yes, it's true. We can learn. Yeah, I think Maharaj Mahavirya, I think he quote about Vairagya and Yukta Vairagya and how you utilizing everything. And it was so touching what he said to Bon Maharaj. Now you have renounced even your renunciation.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah.
And so what you said is very much apropos, you know, like being married and you raise children and all this stuff of gamuts of feelings, but you learn very quickly a detachment if you see that relationship as a mundane relationship. So Prabhupada said that even Gurudev, that if you are there to serve them as Vaishnavas and Vaishnavi, then that's a proper Yuktavira utilization of your ashram. Doesn't matter what ashram we are in, you know.
Yeah.
But, so thank you all. It was a fantastic thing. Part of the time I fell asleep. I'm sorry to say, but I stayed to the
I still would have gone in, Prabhu. Don't worry.
It's almost 3 a.m. in the morning, and I started watching when you began, and I kept saying, "Oh well, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to sleep." I couldn't stop watching.
I'm getting all this just for Nandan Prabhu. I got the photos and like that. Thank you. Oh, Tridandi Swami Maharaj Prabhu Ki Jai Haribo.
Was he back on? Is Tridandi here?
Yeah, at least he said briefly. He said, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. He sent me his pranams. He's ever so sweet. So thank you all, everybody, the team, you, Yasodanandan, for organizing such a wonderful conference and in honoring our for us grandfather or your great grandfather, what was it? Syamarani said that when the absence of the father, the grandfather takes really good care of the grandchildren. It's true. I've seen that many times. Jai Ho, Haribol, my dandavas. I gotta run out of here. My obeisance is
Okay,
done.
thank
Till
you,
next
Nhrari
time.
Prabhu.
Okay.
Thank everyone. I thank everyone who. Thank you, Bhavatarani. So lovely to have your association from anywhere in the world and at any time. And for all of those who are listening live here on Zoom or on Facebook or on YouTube, as well as those who will listen in the future, just offer dandavat pranams. And all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev, to these glorious acharyas, especially Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and of course our dear Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev, and my Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Madhav Goswami Maharaj. For all of us here, we are so fortunate to hear this, and I just offer thanks.
And Gaur Govinda.
Yes, I was just gonna say.
Yeah.
I don't know all of the things, but I feel like just saying a Jayajwani for our whole parampara here, actually, but we do know that emanates from the very top, from Sri Radha Krishna, from Srimati Radhika's heart herself, collecting all of us back into this Nitya service that we all have on some level. So thanks everyone. Yasodanandan, would you like to say anything else to close us out? Don't know if Yasodanandan can unmute and say something, but
No, we're done. I'm going to stop the live stream.
okay. Thanks
Done.
everyone, and see you next time.
Hari Bol. Oh,
Haribol.
actually, one thing. We got Navneet Parakram coming up 7 days, March the 1st to March the 7th, 10:30 to 12:30 UK time, which is 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock Indian time. And it's kind of early in America.
Okay, more to come on that. Dandavats, everyone. Take care.